happy music, Bill. It's not reggae, but it's still happy music, and I enjoyed that very much. It put me in a happy spot. I don't know about you, but more and more I try to find my happy spot every day.
I'm in a happy spot here in about 20 minutes. Every 20 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
So is it kind of a manic depressive thing, or some sort of chemical imbalance, or just timing?
Just when the wind tunnel kicks on.
That's fair. See, I was reading way too much into that, wasn't I?
Yeah.
It's just about artificial environment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for it. Well, once again, Skylar, appreciate you jumping in there and offering your comments. We'll catch back up with you a little bit before the end of the show, and then, as I mentioned, we'll have some Sky Q stuff on our Excessive Celebration page, because those of you that think that you know what you're doing will have the chance to prove it to an 11-year-old sixth grader who knows what he's doing. Speaking of knowing what they're doing, I'm going to turn this segment over to Bill Bell, a.k.a. Dash Riprock. By the way, did Dash and Lance have a good vacation, Bill? Do we know?
I feel like they did.
Well,
I haven't seen any pictures on the gram yet, but I'm sure they did.
Well, if they went to some of the places we talked about,
Happy place.
You may find it on Pinterest instead of Instagram.
There you go.
You just never know. But what we do know is that Bill knows baseball. Me, I don't know. Bill knows baseball. What I do know, Bill, is that as a true blood Red Sox fan, I still see the slightest hope at the possibility of a wild card. Not much, but the slightest hope. So the American, which way do you want to go? You tend to be fairly opinionated on where you want to start this thing, but I do have the standings, and I'd love to talk about what you think. Skylar and I went over the baseball stuff yesterday, kind of narrowed it down to we think there's probably 5 teams that are really legit.
Legit? Who are the 5? Who are the 5?
Well, now we're down to 4, it seems, but because I think Oakland's still legit.
Something happened to Chris Davis. He's just not batting very well, and I don't think this team goes very far without Chris Davis all of a sudden getting his swing back.
Well, it wouldn't hurt my feelings if Oakland went away and the Tampa Bay Rays went away and the Red Sox managed to move up, but that's a long haul. So you've got the Yankees, you've got the Astros. I think it's pretty clear that those teams are in good shape, American League-wise. And then in the Central, Minnesota and Cleveland, either one of those teams still have a shot. So what do you think, Bill? What are you looking at? Let me put it to you this way. What has to happen for some of these teams other than Houston or New York to make any noise at all?
Greinke's got to get injured, Verlander's got to go down, and Garrett Cole's got to go down.
So they have to bring themselves back to the pack, is what you're saying.
Well, and you saw it just last night. Is Zach Greinke gets obliterated for like 5 runs, and that's against Tampa. So there's going to be games where these guys aren't as focused as they should be. But let's be honest, the Astros are waiting for the playoffs. You'll still get some games where they strike out 10, strike out 12. Their hitting's always going to be there. So when, let's say, Brantley's down, that Springer's going to step up.
Yeah.
Bregman, who's probably the MVP of the league this year, has been playing phenomenal.
Is that even close? I mean, who else do you throw in there?
The closest team you can throw in there is the Yankees, but then even then you got to question every part of their pitching staff.
Yeah, and when you start looking at voting, I mean, they kind of cancel each other out to some degree. You know, it's like a team. It's a little bit like, frankly, like Clemson. I think the reason Tagovailoa has a chance to win the Heisman is because I think votes are going to get split between Lawrence and Etienne before this is all over with.
Well, and I've heard an interesting comment this morning about Tua receiving votes because he almost had it last year, and that's why you won't see the votes go towards Lawrence, is because they, for whatever reason, felt bad.
I don't like these lifetime achievement awards sort of things like that.
Well, there's already bias in the voting. I mean, there's no way there's not bias. When you have, what was it, the year that, I can't remember who won it. one of the years, and one guy, and he's clearly the best player, but the one guy votes for the guy that's on his own team, and one
Sure.
even like there's bias all around.
By the way, Bill, yesterday I was listening to one of the two major talk stations here in the city in the afternoon, Sports Talk, and one of the people on there, I won't say his name, but he's an ex-local football player from Cleveland County, the school down there. His first name's Curtis. He actually, on the air, said that the reason that the media doesn't like Oklahoma fans is because of their biasness. And I had to Google it up and never found that word. So anyway, I just think it's interesting we're making them up as we go.
It's probably right next to week 0.
That's a great point. That's a great point. You have biasness during week 0.
Well, and you know the thing that from an outside perspective, and I think it's funny more so, and I feel like it's a little bit of annoying, is every Heisman ceremony you have an OU player up there, and yeah, Billy Sims gets up there and does what I get it. Be proud of your school, but man, come on, like tone it down a little bit, little bit.
You know, I hopefully he's got his act together, because for a guy that's as high profile as he is, he sure has an awful lot of warts in terms of how he's lived his life.
And I get it. And in every Heisman, it's just Billy being Billy. I understand. You know, if that's going to be your hype man, that's going to be your hype man, I guess. But to me, it comes off a little overbearing, and it's we get it, dude.
By the way, have you seen the new Nissan Heisman House commercials with Mayfield and
with
Murray?
Kyler.
Yeah, that's some good stuff, man. I love all of those. I think those are so well done.
I wonder why they made Baker shave his beard for that.
I don't know, because he didn't for the other commercial that he was doing.
I wonder if it was just a weird spot where he had shaved his beard for something else.
Maybe he had acne.
He might have.
You never know. Could be. National League, Bill. I'll tell you one team that I've really been following a little bit, because it gets to a point where you kind of go, man, I can't turn away from these guys. They keep playing well, and that's Atlanta.
Yeah.
Not that they don't have some pressure from the Nationals underneath them, but Atlanta. We talked a couple of weeks ago, and I'm not a baseball genius. I can only see what I see and then react to that. But they're really well put together.
Yeah, they're all pretty young outside of Freeman. Even their pitching staff outside of Keuchel is young, and even Keuchel's not really that old. But that's been the biggest question with Atlanta. They've got the pitching staff, but they haven't really fulfilled their potential like they did last year, and some of it's due to injuries. But anytime you can put Acura Jr., Albies, Freeman, Klubertson's kind of in a rut right now, but he's got games where he hits. Dansby Swanson, those guys can win games. I think they're the only challenge, really. I don't even count the Dodgers in this, because I don't think they have enough to beat the Astros. But I think if Atlanta could get their pitching staff back to what it was last year, they could challenge the Astros and be a tough out.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I think most people are just under the assumption that it's the Dodgers no matter what, and they've played well enough to maybe carry that mantle, or whatever the term might be.
Yeah.
But we don't live in a vacuum. It's not still frame. Everything continues to evolve, and where I think you make the point pretty well, whether it's Houston or the Dodgers or the Yankees, how much do you back off the pedal without creating a situation where can I accelerate again when I need to turn it back on? I mean, how? And we see that in basketball as well. You start getting your guys some rest or what have you, but are these teams capable of doing that and then turning the gas back on, if you will, when that gets down to the final week or the playoff run or what have you?
Well, I think they've been trying to turn the gas on the whole year. I mean, you look at, say, Kershaw and Rich Hill. I mean, Walker Buehler's been their ace, but even Kenley Jansen in the back of the rotation. It's been struggle mode with the Dodgers, and trying to figure it out on their way while their hitting keeps them going. It's it's going to change. Now, the first round of the playoffs or second round may not matter that much. You can still rely on all those analytics of launch angle and everything like that. But when you face a team that's got a pitching staff or at least one or two good pitchers, that's going to go out the window. You're not going to see Max Muncy get up there and 2 times out of those 4 times at bats and hit home runs. They're going to have to put the ball in play. I don't believe, until somebody can prove me wrong, that you can win by just dropping bombs on people in a postseason. I think it relies heavily on, if I've got Garrett Cole up on the mound or Zach Greinke and I think I'm going to hit off of him. I mean, Verlander's been known to give up a couple, but most of the time it's limited to 1, maybe 2, and how good is your pitcher on the other side?
Right.
So the Dodgers, to me, I think their lineup is scarier than what it seems. Once you can kind of get past Muncy and Bellinger, which I know that's hard to do, but I think Turner this year has been not the same Turner of old.
A little vulnerable.
They have had guys just fill in, though, and play really well. You get past the first game with Walker Buehler, but you can throw, say, a Verlander or Greinke or Garrett Cole at him. I think that's kind of null and void, and then what do? Because I don't believe Kershaw has it anymore, and I don't believe Rich Hill has it anymore. What is it? Ryu for the Dodgers has been pitching really well.
Yeah.
I think he gets figured out in the playoffs, which, by the way, he's probably your Cy Young winner.
Boy, it's interesting, Bill. You mentioned Kershaw maybe not having what he used to have. These the elite pitchers in baseball remind me a little bit of elite running backs in the NFL. In other words, their star burns very, very bright, but not for too long before it burns out.
Yeah, and it's always difficult to watch those guys. So we'll say David Price, CC Sabathia, Kershaw now, those guys that used to throw heat, Felix Hernandez, that are great pitchers. Kershaw probably one of the best that in a long time, or maybe one of the best in the game the game's ever seen.
Well, to me, he's in that Fernando Valenzuela, Oral Hershiser, these guys that were just as bright a star as they could be, but it just doesn't burn very long.
But the thing with them is can you figure out how to pitch after your fastball drops 3 miles per hour?
You go to like the Mike Maddox school of the corners or something?
Like CeCe's, I wouldn't say gotten there, but CeCe's getting there, and I don't know that he's going to have too many more years left, but CeCe is gotten to where he can get around some guys. I think Felix has still kind of struggled with it. He's always had a good curveball, good changeup, but Felix is hit and miss, and injuries played a lot over the last couple of years with Felix. David Price, I think, has probably figured it out the best, but now is struggling this year. So is
he still as big an old boy as he ever was?
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean,
because he was a pretty good sized guy for a while there.
Who, David Price?
Yeah.
No,
wasn't he?
He's always been rail thin.
Really? I thought he was.
You're talking about CeCe. CeCe.
No, I was thinking of a guy that pitched both for the Red Sox and for the Yankees. He was kind of a big guy.
David Wells.
Wells had an attitude,
and then pitched with Toronto.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No,
I could just see this vision of this guy on the mound that would scare you if you were trying to step up to the dish and take a swing at.
David Wells and CeCe to some degree. The one thing I always found funny about CeCe is so he's got like some custom-made pants because they pleat out where his thighs are for some reason, and then they taper down to where his ankles are.
Is that like Harbaugh's khakis?
I guess. I don't like. What you got? Stick them in your pockets? I don't.
Got a room to have a whole sewing kit in there, like Gaylord Perry.
I mean, I don't know what's going on or why he has. I mean, I guess it's a comfortability thing, but
you take a few of those stitches out of the ball, it moves kind of funny.
Yeah,
so you got your sewing kit in there.
But I'm waiting for the next guy. I'd rather see the next pitcher, or big name pitcher, which I think is probably going to be Walker Buehler, but the next big guy that doesn't throw 95 plus, that really does just paint the corners, like you said, kind of back towards that Glavine, Maddox days, because that to me,
the long ball.
That to me is more interesting in baseball than watching some guy get up there and just throw it 900 miles an hour and trying to strike everybody out with a high fastball.
No, without a doubt. It's just interesting to me, when people, and I get it. I mean, we all live our lives and we make the money we make, and we resent the fact that these guys make the kind of money they make. That's human nature to do that. But the fact of the matter is, there's a pretty short window for earning the ultimate bucks, and I don't blame any of these people for going to try to get paid.
Well, then you wonder why guys get, hey, we took PEDs, but it's only like a 25-game suspension. So, for that one time that I took PEDs and got caught for it, you wonder why they do that. Like, it's not hard to figure out. I'm getting paid $40 million, and then my next contract's going to be $200 million. I don't want to say do it, because that's not what I'm saying at all, but the understanding of it from my side, I kind of get.
Rationalize it. You can at least rationalize that decision that they make, because it's here. Man, I got too much to gain by doing this.
Yeah,
and not that much. It's risk mitigation.
Yeah, and MLB's done, I think, a fantastic job as far as, there was the year whenever they caught like Alex Rodriguez. There was a whole bunch of minor league players that never got talked about during that year that they suspended.
Were they juiced up as that bird on the Alabama highway?
Yeah. So that's a great thing that they've done. I don't think the length of games is right yet. Like whenever you only get half a season and then a whole season. Okay, well, so I'm going to sit out 1 year, let my body recover, get stronger, come back next year and still swat. Yeah, I think I'll be all right and still make $100 million. Perfect example has been Nelson Cruz, who still continues to rake. Not saying he's on PEDs anymore, but it's aided into his longevity. It's aided into him getting bigger contracts and still being a solid hitter. There's a guy out there, and I'm not saying he's on anything. I'm not suggesting he's on anything, but Ketel Marte for the Diamondbacks.
Is he Starlings?
I don't think we ever. I don't think we ever figured that out.
Skyler's a big Pittsburgh Pirate fan, and I know he's not there anymore. But
you've got Josh Bell. He's been raking. But then the reason I say this is so Ketel Marte started with the Mariners organization.
Right.
There is no way he weighed more than I did. And I'm being dead serious. There is no way. And he was a defensive wizard, but couldn't hit the ball to save your life.
How big of a big old boy is he?
Probably 6'2", 150 pounds at the time.
Did the kind of the Mark McGuire Canseco growth rate?
Go take a picture. Go look at a picture of Ketel Marte now and tell me. And it could be a workout regimen. Arizona May has a great workout regimen. I don't know what it is, but Ketel Marte is at least 50 to 70 pounds bigger. And now all of a sudden is a home run hitter. There was a point in time where he led the league in home runs, and it was a short period, but he led the league. This guy plays second and shortstop. No, your guy shouldn't be doing this at 5'10" or however tall he is. And it could, and I'm hoping it's just a great workout regime and he's fixed his swing or whatever, but you get those feelings about guys that something's going to come out, and the same could be said for say Robbie Cano.
Right.
I didn't see Robinson Cano's one coming at all. I was just thinking, okay, Robinson Cano's in Seattle now, and he's just still hitting like he always did, and then you hear it that he comes out that he's tested positive for PEDs. That sent me a shock. I didn't think anything of it because Robinson Cano was always kind of bigger as far as muscular wise. Even in New York, he was still had that frame like he could put on a lot of weight. But I don't know. It's very deceiving. Some of these players now, and it's sad to be in that kind of world now where you have to speculate on some of these guys that he might be one of those guys. But, and again, I hope he's not, and he's probably not, but I'm hoping he's not. But it's just that if's always going to be there.
Yeah, it's... So, having said all of this and looking at where everybody is, and we kind of looked at maybe what happens in the even further into the future here, if you had to get to 4 teams right now, what would those 4 teams be if we get down to an American League Championship and a National League Championship?
Astros, Yankees, probably Dodgers, Braves.
Yeah, it's interesting, Bill, because St. Louis has been playing pretty well. You know, they separated themselves a little bit in the Central. All year, though, when I've watched St. Louis, it's almost like they're 90% of what you normally see from the Cardinals. I just think there's just something missing there, and I can't put my finger on it. They're fortunate, I think, to be in the division they're in this year because, but all of those teams are just hovering a little bit over 500.
You know what it is with the Cardinals? I think it's that you need that raw guy. So like a Dustin Pedroia kind of guy. I thought Matt Carpenter might be that, and he's kind of stepped back a little bit, but it doesn't ever seem to me when the Cardinals play baseball that they're having fun. And like I've said before, a lot of their pitching staff can still pitch, but they're all older in age. Yeah. So they know how to pitch at this point. Waka can still pitch. I don't know if it's just the theme around the Cardinals being an older baseball team or whatever it may be, but even
you play more reserved. If you're a pitcher and you've kind of proven yourself, but you're on the twilight end of your career, are you less likely to be aggressive and more likely to stick to pitches that you can still throw, and then you become a little bit predictable as a pitcher? Is that fair?
Depends on what team I'm playing for. If I'm going for a playoff spot, I would say no. If I'm with the Mariners, then I would say yeah, probably. I don't think there's ever a time to throw any kind of pitch that you may not be comfortable with.
No matter where you are in your career.
Really, no matter what situation. Outside of, hey, I guess you could try and practice with it if you're on the Mariners pitching staff, but at that point you're already out. But I would say if you're going for a playoff spot and I've got a slider that's not been working all year, but
probably not going to throw it.
Well, I probably need to work on it. I probably do need to throw it in some of these games that may not matter.
Right.
Especially if we've got a 3-game lead and there's 5 games left or whatever, I might be throwing it occasionally. Do I throw it with the same occurrence that I would normally throw it? Probably not. But you've got to hone it in at some point, and especially during the playoff push, if you think that pitch is really going to be beneficial to you, then I'd probably throw it.
And the reason I ask that is if you've got an elder pitching staff and you're the Cardinals and you're trying to get to the end of the playoffs, but you're not that far ahead of the Cubs, and even the Brewers are still capable of catching you, and you're collectively older, do you tend to be collectively more conservative, I guess, with your pitching?
Well, and I would like to see...
I don't have an opinion. I'm just asking.
I would like to see one of these teams jump up. Like the Cubs, I think, could be that surprise team.
But they didn't do anything when they had the chance. They're like the Red Sox to me.
But
they really
you got Castellanos, and he's been hitting.
I was thinking more along the lines of back-end pitching and some of the things that they seem to be a little...
They made some small moves. That lineup... and. Like Jason Hayward, I've never been a huge fan of Jason Hayward. He can hit occasionally, but he goes through droughts to where he can't touch the ball. But defensively, he's a whiz. So it's a give and take situation. But they've got enough hitting in that lineup to where they should be competing for a world championship. The problem is, again, we get back to pitching. They don't have the pitchers in the starting rotation or really even in the bullpen to do anything.
Well, it's hard to argue against the Braves and the Dodgers coming out of that side, and it's even harder to argue that it is going to be Houston and the Yankees, but Red Sox are still alive.
Just this last week, or I guess the last couple of days, the Mariners have officially been eliminated.
Okay, they're dead now, just like the Mariners. Yeah, that's fun to look at. Skylar and I are talking about Baltimore and Detroit and these teams, What do you have to give away to get somebody to show up at this point?
Right.
Season tickets for next year?
Fried grasshoppers.
So it's been a while since we've had any food talk on the show, hasn't it?
I'm hoping next week you come through with a fried grasshopper recipe.
A recipe?
Yeah.
I think I saw somewhere on Diners, Dives, and Drive-In some sort of a grasshopper taco or something.
Ugh.
Grasshopper, if you can snatch the pebble from my hand. it is time for you to go.
You're listening to Crossover Sports with Excessive Celebration. Hit that app.